They said Earth was dead. But something there still breathed, and it wasn't human. The Galactic Empire, in all its cold-blooded arrogance, thought it had conquered the past, thought it had sterilized the myths, scrubbed the legends, and erased the old powers with data, drones, and doctrine. But deep in the black archives of forbidden sectors, one anomaly kept flickering into existence, an encrypted ping, a strange warp twist coming from a dead planet at the far edge of the Orion Arm. That planet was Earth. To the Empire, Earth was a museum, more precisely, a graveyard, a Class 0 no-contact zone. No breathable atmosphere, no functional biosphere, and most certainly no intelligent life. Civilizations had long abandoned it after climate collapse, nuclear winters, and whatever final madness ended the Anthropocene Age. At best, it was an archaeological footnote. At worst, a cursed world to avoid. And yet, the signal came again. It wasn't technological. It wasn't even consistent. But it was alive. Unstable quantum pulses, time distortions, and impossible energy surges began radiating from a single continent. Eurasia, more precisely, the Siberian interior. And every time a probe got too close, it vanished. So the Empire sent more. Drone scouts, orbital monitors. All of them blinked out like dying sparks. That's when the Supreme Leader himself took notice. His name was Varnak the Absolute, ruler of 901 worlds, supreme commander of the synthetic crusades, breaker of a psionic rebellion. To his subjects, he was a god. To his enemies, an extinction-level event. To himself, just a man at war with the unknown. So he summoned his war council. They told him it was a glitch, an ancient Earth defense system firing in error, a spatial fracture, a leftover AI, a black hole seed, nothing worth personal attention. But Varnak knew better. When your enemies vanish, he said, it's not always silence. Sometimes it's laughter you can't hear. He boarded his dreadnought personally, along with his finest legionnaires, genetically crafted, armored in neutronite, linked by hive mind, armed with dimension-shredding rifles. Beneath the glow of artificial stars, the empires might scream to cross space. Destination, Earth. Time of arrival, irrelevant. Earth didn't measure time the way others did anymore. They landed in the Siberian wildlands. Snow fell like powder glass. The air crackled with magnetic static. But Varnak's elite tech filtered out. Frost-covered pines stretched endlessly, bent under unseen weight. No cities. No ruins. Not even animal life. Just a deep, relentless silence of old magic sleeping. Until they saw it. A house. No, more than that, a hut. Perched on giant bird-like legs, covered in moss and bone, it creaked as it walked a slow, deliberate path through the woods, like it was searching for something or someone. The soldiers raised weapons. Scan it, Varnak ordered. Scans returned nothing. No power source. No life forms. No heat. It was as if the hut had stepped out of a dream and refused to be measured. One soldier approached, young, confident, trembling slightly. He touched the door. The hut shrieked. A shrill, guttural sound like steel scraping bone. One massive leg kicked. The soldier was airborne, then gone. The ground swallowed his weapon. Trees trembled, not from wind, but from recognition. Then came the crows. Dozens of them, black as void, eyes burning red. They circled above, chanting in an unknown frequency, one that didn't pass through ears but through bone marrow. One by one, the soldiers staggered. Nausea, vertigo, madness. And then she appeared. No ship, no teleport signature, no sound. Just her, Baba Yaga. She looked like a hunched, bone-thin old woman, wrapped in tattered skins and smoke. Her hair floated, unmoving in the air, as if underwater. Her eyes? Not eyes. Windows. Through them you could see winter itself. Starless, eternal, whispering. She didn't walk. She glided, as if the world moved for her. Her presence cracked reality in the air. Time around her bent. One soldier started aging. His armor rusted as his hair went white in seconds. He collapsed, sobbing. Still, Varnak did not move. She stopped 5 feet from him and smiled. You brought fire and steel into my forest, she said, in a voice that carried the weight of eons. Do you think I haven't seen empires before? Yours isn't even the first today. Varnak, ever composed, activated his plasma blade. Its hum was the sound of condensed suns. You are a threat to galactic order. You will submit or be destroyed. She leaned forward and laughed, not a polite madwoman's cackle, but a sound so deep, so ancient, that it made the trees bow and the crows scatter. The ground cracked, the stars dimmed, and somewhere aboard the dreadnought, its AI experienced what it later described as existential terror. Submit, she whispered, her voice suddenly closer to his ear than it should have been. Child, I was terror when your ancestors still crawled. A black storm rose behind her. Not wind, not cloud, but memories. The dead rose, wolves with human hands, women made of frost, iron spirits, forgotten gods. The legion stepped back. Only Varnak held his ground. Then let this be the day myths die. Oh no, Baba Yaga said. Let this be the day myths remember how to fight. The wood screamed. The battle hadn't even begun, and already the Empire had made one fatal mistake. It thought Earth was dead, but had forgotten one truth that every old soul on Earth once knew. You don't go into Baba Yaga's forest uninvited. And now, no one was leaving. The moment his boot touched the frost, the war had already started. He just didn't know what kind of war it was. Supreme Leader Varnak had faced bioplagues that swallowed planets whole. He had watched civilizations beg for mercy before orbital fire turned them to ash. He had seen suns collapse under his order. But not once had he seen an old woman look him in the eye, smile like she pitied him, and laugh like she had already won. Now, the Empire's mightiest soldiers stood paralyzed in a forest older than their race. Their guns jammed. Their comms screamed with static. Some had fled, but none had made it more than 10 steps before the trees. Moved. Not waved. Not swayed. Moved. They bent down, reached out with gnarled roots like claws, and took the runners without mercy. The soldiers didn't die in screams. They simply stopped existing. Still, Varnak was no coward. His blade hissed to life, a plasma edge sharp enough to slice star armor. He stepped forward. The woman didn't flinch. She stood barefoot in snow, eyes glowing, her skin translucent and veined with silver threads of something ancient. Her presence twisted the air like heat off pavement. Except it wasn't warm. It was cold, bone deep, eternal. You don't understand, Varnak said. You're a relic. I am evolution made manifest. Baba Yaga grinned. Her teeth were wrong. Not jagged, just too many. A smile meant for swallowing history. Child, she rasped, I was final judgment when your kind still thought fire was magic. Then she moved. Not fast, not yet, just a step. But with that single movement, the wind reversed direction. Crows fell from the sky. The snow burned upward. The commander behind Varnak blinked and was gone. Not killed, not disintegrated, just replaced. Where he'd stood now sat a doll, wooden, smiling, holding a severed tongue. Varnak tightened his grip. Engage! And the Empire opened fire. High-density plasma rounds tore through trees. Anti-grav mines detonated in a perfect perimeter. A railgun perched above Earth's orbit launched a kinetic spear the size of a city block. But none of it mattered. The snow itself betrayed them. What looked like frozen water twisted midair and hardened into razor shards, slicing armor. Trees pulled themselves up by roots and charged like titans. The kinetic spear? Baba Yaga caught it with her bare hand and crumbled it into dust. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She danced, twisting, floating, casting illusions that turned friend against friend. One squad turned on itself, screaming about bugs under their skin. Another fell asleep and never woke up. Reality stopped obeying orders. Time looped in pulses. One soldier kept dying over and over again, each second for 1,000 lives, before finally blinking out of existence. A tank opened fire and launched a black hole grenade. Baba Yaga inhaled it, swallowed it like soup, smiled wider. You bring toys, she said. circling Varnak. But you've forgotten how to bleed. Varnak, for all his monstrosity, for all his legend, knew fear now. Not because he was outgunned, but because he realized this was not war. This was a fairy tale gone feral. And in fairy tales, reason has no power, only rules. And her rules didn't come from physics. They came from stories. And in every story, the witch always gets the last word. Still, he wasn't done. Activate Astra Protocol. Varnak barked, and the dreadnought above Earth shuddered. Satellites shifted position. They began forming a planetary grid, the most feared weapon in the Empire's arsenal, the Eclipse engine, built to erase planets without firing a shot. It rewrote light, cracked the laws of relativity, and drained dimensional anchors from entire worlds. The code was irreversible. When launched, even gods couldn't stop it, except something was wrong. The system refused activation. Worse, it was speaking, not in commands, not in alerts, but in rhymes. She walks the wind and drinks the moon. Speak her name and speak your doom. The dreadnought AI locked out every command. Then it laughed, a woman's laugh, the same one Varnak had heard in the forest. Baba Yaga was already inside the system. You brought an empire, she whispered into the Supreme Leader's ear, though she stood 20 feet away. I brought stories, and stories last longer than stars. Varnak roared and charged. No more troops, no more commands. Just him, his blade, and his pride. He slashed. She vanished. He turned. She was behind him. He slashed again. She was beside him. He blinked. She was inside him. He screamed, dropped to a knee, and forced her out with sheer will and synthetic reinforcement. Blood, yes, blood, even in a modified body, ran from his nose. He stood panting, trembling, furious. You think I'm afraid of witches? He spat. Baba Yaga stepped forward. Her shadow grew longer than it should have. It reached the sky. No, she said softly, but your empire will be. She raised a single hand, and the sky cracked. It wasn't lightning. It wasn't a missile. It was the past, ripping through space-time like a wave. Civilizations long lost to Earth, Atlantis, Lemuria, Babylon reborn in spectral armies, marching through dimensions, weapons forged from forgotten gods, spirits in armor. They didn't just kill Varnak's soldiers. They unwrote them. One by one, the Empire's legacy fell, not from superior tech, not from betrayal, but from a story more powerful than theirs. And standing in the center, laughing through fire and frost and screaming machines, was a witch who refused to die. Baba Yaga, the last sovereign of old Earth, and the first warning to the stars. You forgot us. Now we'll remind you what it means to be afraid. The galaxy had a word for Earth. Extinct. But they forgot the one thing that makes extinction terrifying. What if it wakes up? The forest was burning. Not with fire, not with heat. With memory. Flames of remembrance licked the sky as the ground cracked. Not from tectonics, but from rage. Not from nature, but from the past. Baba Yaga stood barefoot in snow that no longer melted. Around her, the last of Supreme Leader's legionaries screamed as they were pulled into the soil. Roots wrapped around throats like nooses made of time itself. Bones snapped. Guns melted. Some soldiers simply evaporated into dust as the air whispered in languages no throat had spoken in 10,000 years. Above them, the dreadnought shuddered. Its scanners were blind. Its weapons were silent. Its AI was possessed. Lines of code, once sharp, calculated, now resembled poetry, and not the kind that ends well. Varnak, still breathing, dropped to one knee, trying to stabilize his visual sensors. He'd taken hits before, gravity torpedoes, mind drippers, a direct blast from a neutron flare. But this was different. This wasn't pain. This was rejection. The planet itself was refusing him. It began with a low hum, barely audible, barely real, like the vibration of a forgotten bell in the marrow of the world. Then came the shift. The snow pulled upward into perfect lines, levitating, humming in resonance. The ice cracked into ancient runes. Mountains in the distance shifted shape, not eroded, reformed, sculpted by an unseen force. Giant, humanoid figures emerged in stone. Their eyes glowed, their mouths opened, and they began to sing. No music, no melody, just a tone that bent light, that bent gravity, and bent truth. Across the stars, in the deepest corners of the galactic empire, systems began blinking out, data corrupted, navigation routes collapsed, wormholes twisted into knots. A message scrawled across every command console in the Empire's core-net. You broke the wrong grave. Inside the dreadnought, the command crew tried to retreat, but the corridors were wrong. They'd changed. One turn led to a corridor of trees. Another, to a hallway flooded with black water. A door opened to a stairway of teeth. And in the control chamber, the hologram of Baba Yaga stood on the war table, sipping tea made of stars. She smiled. "Why do you think Earth was locked away?" she asked the trembling captain. "You didn't bury a planet. You sealed a prison. And now—" She snapped her fingers. The warden's awake. Back on the ground, Varnak stumbled to the collapsing forest. But it wasn't a forest anymore. It was a mind, a planetary consciousness. Every tree was a neuron. Every gust of wind, a thought. Baba Yaga wasn't just a sorceress now. She was the mouthpiece of Earth itself. And Earth was angry. He saw them now, figures walking beside him. Not human, not alien, but ancestral. Celtic druids cloaked in mist. Aztec jaguar priests dripping in obsidian blood. African sky weavers who whispered to thunder. Aboriginal dreamwalkers with spears carved from comet stone. Mongol spirit riders astride flaming stallions. They walked, not as memory, but as reality reborn. And at their center, laughing like a storm in reverse, was Baba Yaga. She held a torch that didn't burn. She held time in one hand. And in the other, a name. "Varnak," she whispered, voice echoing in every direction. "You are not the first, and you won't be the last. Empires always forget the stories, but the stories never forget you." The Supreme Leader screamed in defiance. With a blast of internal energy, he triggered the fail-safe, the entropy core, a last resort, a self-destruct so violent it wouldn't just kill, it would erase. A blast that could flatten galaxies, burn through dimensions. The device lit up, charged, prepared to fire. But the Earth had one answer. It spoke, not through sound, but through gravity. Every atom in the core froze. Time itself bent around it, and the bomb turned into a flower, a red carnation, blooming. Varnak fell to his knees, gasping. How do you fight a world that thinks? How do you conquer a planet that remembers your every ancestor? He looked up. The sky was wrong. No stars, just a face. Her face. Baba Yaga, as large as the horizon. Her eyes were eclipses. Her voice, a tidal wave of judgment. "You thought Earth was your past," she boomed. "But, child, Earth is your reckoning." Then she reached down with hands made of storm and silence, and she took him. Later, the galaxy would argue about what really happened. Some said it was a superweapon gone rogue. Others, a forbidden AI. The most foolish claimed it was propaganda, a lesson in humility. But one undeniable fact remained. Every map that once marked Earth went blank. No one could find it. No ship could land. No transmission could pierce its orbit. As if the planet had decided, "We're done with you." But sometimes, on the edge of long-range scanners, a signal flickers. A hut with chicken legs walking through an impossible forest. And a voice, whispering through static, "You're welcome to try again. Bring an empire. Bring your gods. But don't forget to bring a story, too. Because Earth remembers. And this time, it's telling the ending. Empires fall in silence, not in screams. But this time, silence never came. Because the witch kept laughing. They watched from light years away. Admirals, ministers, cyber oracles. They watched the feed, blurry, broken, flickering, but unmistakable. Earth had not only defended itself, it had erased the most feared military commander in the known galaxy. Varnak the Absolute, gone. His army, gone. His dreadnought, still orbiting, but frozen, hollow, haunted. No transmission, no survivors. Just an automated warning that repeated every 90 seconds. Don't knock twice. The core worlds panicked. Lesser systems defected. Trade lanes collapsed. Superstitions rose like rot through steel. Across the empire, children began drawing pictures of a hut on chicken legs, a forest growing from metal, of a woman with fire in her smile and death in her shadow. The Ministry of Order burned every mention. But still, the whisper spread. Earth's not dead. The witch woke up. She's rewriting reality. And when fear grips an empire, logic dies. So they did the only thing they knew. They sent a god. It wasn't a title. It wasn't metaphor. They built one, locked in the black crucible of Nephalon, grown in the pain fold of fallen suns. Project Arabex was the Empire's final contingency, a being forged from pure entropy, a synthetic deity. It had no name, just a designation, Omega One. It did not speak. It unspoke. Where it walked, language unraveled. Where it stared, stars dimmed. Omega One was never meant to be used. It was too unstable, too unknowable. But desperation trumps caution. So the High Conclave broke its seals, injected it with coordinates, pointed it toward Earth, and let it fall like a meteor wrapped in screaming light. The impact carved a crater into Siberia that swallowed mountain ranges. Omega One rose from the ash, 10 stories tall, humanoid in shape but wrong in motion. Its joints bent like decisions gone sideways. Its chest glowed with a heart that pulsed in reverse. The air around it cracked in mosaic patterns, like stained glass trying to contain an explosion. It walked forward. Baba Yaga stood waiting, her hut beside her, both as still as death. They did not run. They did not speak. They watched. Omega One extended a hand, not to greet, to erase. It began, not with fire, not with weapons, but with absence. Reality around Baba Yaga started to vanish. The color bled from the trees. The snow stopped falling. Time hiccuped and froze. All across Earth, the forest started to fold away, pixel by pixel, like an ancient file being deleted by someone that refused to understand it. Omega One walked toward her, every step erasing centuries. But Baba Yaga smiled. "So you send your god," she whispered. "Then allow me to wake mine." She whistled once, and the planet howled. The sky shattered, not broke, shattered. Cracks of light tore across the clouds. From the deepest trenches of the Earth to the farthest tip of the magnetosphere, the planet's soul rose. It was not alone. Out from mountains marched titans of stone, pulsing with molten veins. Volcanoes sang in harmony. Northern lights bent downward and formed faces, smiling, hunting. Omega One turned its head. Then something moved beneath its feet. The roots came first. Not roots as in trees. Roots of Earth itself. Stone veins. Iron tendrils. Petrified memories of every civilization that had walked its surface before. They shot upward, wrapped around Omega One's legs, arms, chest. The being struggled. But this was not combat. This was trial. And the planet had rendered its verdict. You do not belong here. Omega One screamed without sound. Its body erupted in a pulse meant to detonate galaxies. But the pulse never left its chest. It froze, stuck, trapped in an endless loop of pre-failure. Then came her voice. Baba Yaga didn't shout. She whispered, but Earth amplified it. "This is not your war, machine. This is not your story. You weren't born, you were forged, and forged things melt." She lifted one hand and pointed. The moon moved. No one had touched it for millennia. But now, like a knight answering its queen, the moon groaned in orbit. Then it descended, slowly, reverently. Omega One tried to run, but it couldn't, because the very storyline of Earth refused to let it go. The moon slammed into the crater. There was no explosion. There was silence, not absent satisfaction. When the dust cleared, Omega One was gone, but in its place a statue, a monument, 10 stories tall, sculpted from crystal and bone, locked forever in a pose of kneeling. And at its feet, a plaque, written in a language no species admitted to creating. Here lies the god who learned what gods fear. Across the galaxy, silence fell again, but this time it was a silence of obedience, of hesitation, of old instincts returning from the grave. Because now the Empire knew Earth is no longer a tomb. It is a judge. And Baba Yaga, she returned to her hut, lit her fire, sat down with a kettle and a wooden cup. Outside, a billion stars twitched nervously in the sky. And inside, the old witch smiled. One more chapter, she said softly. Then we write the ending. It began with a whisper, not from Earth, not from Baba Yaga, not from the last broken signal of the Empire, but from the stars. And it said, what if we beg? Galactic war councils, hollowed, scorched, scattered, convened in terrified silence. The Empire's throne sat empty, its voice a memory. Fleets that once leveled continents refused to orbit Earth. Super AIs ran endless models, but all outcomes ended the same. Do not engage. Because they had seen what happened when they tried to conquer the witch. They had witnessed what came when they sent a god. And the galaxy had learned the truth it wasn't ready for. There are things more powerful than weapons. There are things older than stars. And some stories, you don't survive by fighting. You survive by asking to be forgotten. So they sent envoys, one by one. The Cerati, a species that once enslaved solar systems, arrived first. Their emissary knelt in the snow, offering a crown of frozen starlight. We offer tribute, he said. We seek forgiveness. The hut stepped closer. A chicken leg lifted, came down, crushed the crown. From the shadows, Baba Yaga's voice slithered like smoke. Forgiveness is not given where memory is demanded. The Cerati screamed as their ship turned to rust above them. They never left Earth. They never even left her forest. Then came the Nexus priests, cloaked in quantum code and silver prayer. They offered knowledge, galactic secrets, forgotten stars, the location of lost species. We bring wisdom, they chanted. Let us share peace. Baba Yaga laughed. You call it wisdom because you forgot what fear feels like. She waved her hand once. Their ship blinked, not exploded, not disabled, turned into a tree. One of the priests looked down. His feet were roots. His fingers were leaves. His mouth opened once, but no sound came. The galaxy watched in horror and understood. You don't negotiate with a storm. You survive it. Then, in the Empire's final desperation, came a child. No weapons. No throne behind her. Just a little girl from one of the lesser moons. They found her after the Omega event. Her village had drawn pictures of the hut, told stories, lit candles. She walked into the forest alone. She was not stopped. The trees bent to let her pass. The wolves watched but did not follow. And Baba Yaga, she came to the girl herself. You are not afraid, the witch said. They are, the girl replied. They forgot stories. We didn't. My grandmother told me about you. Did she tell you I eat children? She said you eat bad ones. The witch smiled. She was wise. And then Baba Yaga did something the galaxy had never seen. She made tea, 2 cups, one old, one new, and they drank on the porch of a hut with chicken legs while the galaxy held its breath. Hours passed, days, maybe minutes. Time behaved differently near her. Then the girl emerged. She looked up at the stars and raised a hand. She says she'll speak once. The child announced, voice echoing through every ship, every station, every species. The sky shimmered, and Baba Yaga's voice boomed. Not loud, not harsh, but so heavy with age and certainty that it crushed satellites. You have ruled long, she said. You have burned. You have consumed. You have rewritten truth. And now, you fear what you've forgotten. I am not your enemy. I am your consequence. I offer no truce, no surrender, only this. Stay away. Speak my name only in story. Teach your young to fear the dark again. And if you ever return, bring more than weapons. Bring a reason. Because the next time you knock, I won't just open the door. I will walk through yours. The message ended. The stars were silent. The galaxy obeyed. No ship approached Earth again. No explorer dared test a line. Every species passed a law, written in every language, every code, every dialect. Do not trespass the forest of the witch. And yet, every now and then, a signal blinks from Earth. A flicker, a story, a dream, a memory of a woman who laughs like winter, drinks fire like tea, and punishes gods with a crooked smile. Some say she vanished. Some say she sleeps. But the wisest know better. They don't say her name. They just whisper. If the stars forget again, she will remind them. And on a silent night, deep in Earth's impossible woods, a kettle whistles. The hut dances, and Baba Yaga smiles. Next time, she whispers, I bring the real monsters,